Welcome back, my friends, to another tournament report. This one is for the Northern Kings GT, a premier 2-day GT in the north of England, run by the Northern Kings, hence the name, Northern Kings Originals. So, I took my Riftforged Orcs, revamped, redone, repainted from the Adepticon list. Tried to learn some of the lessons, and this is what I took. So I had 2 hordes of Riftforged Legionnaires, 2 troops of Reborn Legionaries. So Reborn Legionaries are like Riftforged Legionnaires, but they're inspiring and crush 2, which is pretty cool. So little troops of them effectively act as inspiring for the list. 2 troops of Riftwalkers, because they're awesome, little flying guys. I kept 1 horde of Thunderseers, because I just think 30 attacks on 3s, so I can brew of sharpness. 30 attacks on 3s with Pathfinder is hilarious. They also have visions of the Rift, so they can redeploy. And then we had 2 troops of Tundra Wolves, because they're great. I tried out a Storm Slayer. So a Storm Slayer, he's like a troll monster. 8 attacks, hits on 3s, crush 2, nimble. Speed 7. And it's kind of funny. In the very last game, my opponent said to me, "Why are you using him like this? Why don't you use him like this?" And I realised that he was right, and I'd been using him wrong the entire tournament. There you go. More on that later. Storm Giant, who is a great giant. He's got all the rules and Wind Blast that I forget most of the time. Quite pricey, though, and my Storm Giant model is very pretty. If I say so myself. You may disagree, in which case you'd be wrong. The Shrine, because the Shrine is great largely because it's got the Aura of Fury, which only actually was used in 1 game, but it was really used in that game. And then my Mighty Pair, I've got a Rift Forger, his little 3-attack hero with Host Shadow Beast 6 that he can cast. So the Arcane Smithy rule is that he can cast it in combat, either on himself or anyone else in the same combat, which is irrelevant because I run him along with Thonar, who is just gross. He's so broken. So he's brilliant. He's got 6 attacks hit on 3s. If he gets a 5 or a 6, then it counts for 2 hits. And also, if he hits you with one of those Storm Strikes, then you are -1 to hit next turn, which is super. And of course, he's a great target for Host Shadow Beast, which both the Shrine and the Rift Forger have. So the way I run this list is I tend to have a centre of the Legionaries backed up by the Reborn Legionaries, and then I kind of distribute maybe one Rift Walker and a Tundra Wolf in there, the Storm Giant in the centre with the Shrine behind it, and then a fast. So on one flank I tend to put the Thunderseers with a Rift Walker or a Tundra Wolf, and then we have the Storm Slayer, Rift Forger and Thonar together as a nice little combat force. And what I really should have done when someone pointed out is run the Storm Giant with these 2 and use the Storm Slayer in the centre line as a kind of chaff piece because he's faster than everything else at speed 7. I didn't think of that until the last game when someone pointed out. Anyway, on to game 1. So game 1, as a challenge, I challenged our visitor from abroad, Fred Oslo, who is late of Giant Dwarf, which is now a dead podcast, very sad about, but an all-round amazing guy. I just, meeting him, and here he is, with his eyes closed. He had a massive hangover. Meeting him was like meeting an old friend that I'd not met for a long time. We just hung out. He was just awesome. Great guy. And he bought Undead. What a dick. So he bought Undead with Jarvis. Good Undead. So he's got Jarvis, obviously. And then he has a regiment of skeleton warriors with the Orb of Towering Presence, which gives them an additional unit strength. A horde of spearmen with the item that gives them Iron Resolve. A troop of wraiths with a blade of slashing. 2 regiments of mummies. One with Healing Brew and one with a life leech item. A regiment of Soul Reaver infantry with Dwarven Ale. 2 regiments of Death Pack. Chaff Death Pack. Horde of Werewolves with a Staying Stone. Horde of Wights with the Mead of Madness. 1 Balefire Catapult. And then a Lich King with Edge Periscope and Blizzard. A Necromancer with Mind Fog. And a Standard Bearer with a Loot. So, what do I think of his list? I think it's alright. I'm not... I think, it's a fluffier undead list, I would say. So the nasty bits are obviously the wights and the Soul Reaver infantry, right? Those are the really gross bits. Mummies are very durable. It's a nice durable centre. Trooper Wraith is always good. And there's a few too many skeletons for me, but that's just me. And I'm not really sure about Death Pack either. And I think if catapults, you're going to run catapults, you should run 2. That's just my thought. I also cordially dislike the use of Blizzard, just because I just don't think it's worth the points. It's 40 points. Not a fan. So, with that, there's Fred again, onto the battlefield. So here are the battlefields with this beautiful terrain made by Nick. We have 2 height 3 hills. We have a couple of pieces of height 6 blocking terrain. We have 2 height 6 forests. And then we have, this is rough terrain height 1. It's a wall here for height 2. And these are flat. This is a rough terrain. There's another wall over there. There we go. Okay. So, we are playing Control. So Control, just so you remember, is the one where your opponent's centre portion, if you dominate at the end, is worth 2. All the other sections are worth 1. If you have the most unit strength in them at the end of the game. Note, the table next to us, by the way, was another grudge, which was Daniel King on this side versus Chris Lynch on this side, who is an exceptionally good player. Daniel King is obviously the Dark Lord Daniel King himself. You will note Dan also had a terrible hangover, and he has both rum and a mimosa on his table. Fun times. So this is how we deployed. So I can't remember who won sides, but we deployed like this. And I noticed something about Fred's deployment. Notice he's deployed back. So the 12-inch line's about here, where these guys are, and he's deployed much of his army back. It's almost as if he's deployed against a shooting army, which is what he told me is what he thought he was doing. He just kind of, bear in mind, the guy's just flown over and then got absolutely drunk with a bunch of Scottish guys. So he's possibly not firing, 100%, because he's used to playing at shooting armies. He's deployed as if I'm shooting when clearly I'm not. Anyway, whatever. So we have these. So on Fred's side, what he's deployed, he's deployed very heavily on the left, behind all this terrain. So he's got death packs at the front with wraiths, and that is, I think, I want to say, that's the standard bearer. That's the standard bearer with the loot. Then he's got, here is soul reavers, 2 mummies, werewolves, and wights. So all in a big pile. That's a blizzard necromancer. Yes, it is. That's the other necromancer. I can't remember what he's got. What has he got? We could actually look. Mindfog. And that's Mortigris here. And then he's got his Balefire Catapult, Horde of Skeletons, and a Regiment of Skeletons. In contrast to that, so against all of his stuff, I have got 1 troop of Riftwalkers. This is where I obviously have deployed my Thunder Seers. They're going to redeploy. Where do they redeploy to? There. So they're going to redeploy to here, right? And then I've got 1 Horde, 2 Hordes. So this is typically how I'm deploying. So remember I went through it. We've got 1 Reborn Legionnaires behind them, and then everything else is over here. So we've got my Shrine. This is the Giant. We've got Riftwalkers, Reborn, and then we've got both of my Tundra Wolves. And this is my monster guy, whatever he's called. Stormbringer. No, Stormcaller. Storm. What's he called? Storm Slayer. Of course he is. He's slaying the old storms. It's so obvious now I've said it. Storm Slayer, Thonar, and then the Riftforger is here. That's him here. Alright? So my plan, I'll tell you what my plan is. I'm obviously terrified of these guys and these guys. Right? That's where I'm terrified. They are one-hit kill machines. So I am going to try and hold him off with these guys because I'm speed 7. And that's that's as fast as everything in his army. And then I'm going to put my big blocks of meat, which is these guys and these guys, up to the middle here, right? Back here to hold them off while all the power of my army, which really is these characters, and Tundra Rules, they're really not shabby. they are going to hair down this side and come in the flank, right? We're going to, blend through these skeletons and into the flank of everything which is still being held up by the stuff. That's the plan. That's how it's going to go. So here's Fred's very nicely painted army. Really subtle. I like it a lot. Yeah, that's what I told you. So I think I got all those characters right. That's definitely Mortigris. It's not actually Mortigris. Anyway, irrelevant. And there's my army at the beginning, and that's where I redeployed it to. So I get first turn. Yay, me! So exciting. And I push forward. Yay. So enacting the plan. So I'm holding off. Got my Riftwalkers here, kind of being quite aggressive. And the Thunderseers as a backup for them because this is a very, very punchy unit. And everything else pushes forward as mentioned. So in response, Fred responds in a suitably aggressive fashion. Well, is it aggressive? I would say it's actually overly cautious. These guys, they can just die. Can't they? They don't really matter. And these guys don't really matter either. What he wants to be doing is getting these guys in, right? Particularly, werewolves at the back really surprised me because the werewolves are very, very fast. They're speed 9. Faster than as fast as these guys, but twice as hitty. So keeping them back has actually played quite nicely for me, I feel. That is 1 point of damage from Blizzard, which is all Blizzard ever does, if that. And then on to turn 2. I think the catapult missed entirely, which is terrible news. By the way, you can see here what I tried to do on I think I talked about this in the last video, but I tried to do on these Riftwalkers is they are kind of phasing into reality because they're walking through the rift, right? So they are not very painted at the back. They're kind of ghostly. You can see here they've just got the colour at the top. The rest of it is ghostly. And then phasing into full colour at the front. I am going to repaint them because I understand they lost me a point on the painting scorecard because the faces aren't done properly. So I'm going to repaint them and I'm going to replace their heads. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Turn 2. So turn 2, I push forward very far. So on the right, that is. So my plan now is I am going to just holding pattern here, right? I have sent the Rift Walkers in. If you look back, if I don't put them in, then it gives him free reign to bring all this stuff forwards. If I put them in here, then it actually blocks off these guys who are a nasty chaff piece, just leaving these rubbish chaff pieces. All right, so that's what I've done. So we've got him with those, and I've pushed very heavily forward on the right. So I've got my Tundra Rules here, and the point of that is to be so you can see the line of sight from these skeletons. You can just put them through the woods and surge into them, but everything behind them is nimble. So this guy's nimble and these guys are nimble, right? And the plan is really to come onto the catapult before it does any major damage. And then I remembered I had it, and I used Wind Blast to push these guys, the Death Pack, off the hill. So he now can't see my Legionnaires. There you go, right back in front of those mummies, which is nice. And then we did a colossal 1 point of damage. Go me! And I'm rather hoping that he'll be so distracted by Riftwalkers in his back line that he takes one of these more powerful units and flanks. We shall see if he does. Right, so in response, he just pushes forward some more on the left. So, rewardingly, he does on the left here. So he's taken the werewolves over the wall into my Riftwalkers, which makes them hit on 4s, which I like very much. And they only crush 1 and 9 defense 5. So that again, so it's 18 attacks on 4s and 4s. You only get 4 or 5 points of damage out of that. Which is survivable for Riftwalkers, which are a dash 12, although they aren't inspired. The Soul Reavers have come forward, which is worrying, but he's kept them very close. See how close he is behind this Death Pack? So I think if I come into the Death Pack, I might be able to block him off. We've got double mummies on a hill, which I don't like, and these guys are poised to kind of strike, so that's all good. But he hasn't taken the skeletons into these. Instead, he just backs off. And he's tried to shoot a little bit into these guys instead. Sorry, he shoots into my Thunder Striker dude. What is he called again? I don't have to go all the way back again. Thunder Cat, whatever he's called. Anyway, 4 points of damage from his shooting, which is actually relatively good. Most of it was done by Mortigris. And there you go, you see. So I think I can't remember who did what damage, but very poor rolling. Extremely poor rolling, way lower than it should have been. Only 5 points of damage to my Riftwalkers, and we're fine. So those werewolves are now held up for another turn, which is superb. On to turn 3. Oh, sorry, I missed stuff there. You know what? I made a mental note to myself when I took that photograph. Oh, don't forget to shift that turn 3 dice back behind the picture that I then took. Forgot, as usual. So that was 2 points of damage from, I think, the catapult. Yes, it was the catapult. So onto my Thunderseers. So what I did was I sidestepped my Legionnaires this way, allowing the reborn Legionnaires to come into the death pack. Right? Nice. Chaffing. Thanks very much. I have given him the opportunity to then use this death pack onto my Thunderseers, which I don't know if he'll take or not. And then I've put my Giant, so the Giant, if you remember, is right here. I've used him essentially as very expensive chaff into these mummies, which is what I do again and again and again. He's so fast and he's quite maneuverable, square base. And this is what my final opponent meant, is really, why was I not using this guy in this function? If I had him here, they're the same speed, he could have been that mobile chaff piece, and the Giant could have been over here being a lot more threatening. Didn't think of that though, did I? So, Giant goes into the mummies, he's going to die. Nice Cloak of Death on everyone. And the Tundra Wolves, which he didn't choose to shoot, dash off here to hold up this horde, while Thonar comes into the catapult, Thundercracker Lad comes into the skeletons, and it's all good. So I've now tied up this side. I can hopefully punch through, and then things can start coming around the edge. So it's all rather looking to plan. What's that for? Oh, that's the other one. So the other thing, you can see the Tundra Wolves here. Forgot about that one. I had another Tundra Wolf, and I just sent it off. I really didn't need it to be any more powerful, so I just sent it off up to kind of hold this table quarter, so at least I get 1 point, even if I lose these fights on the left. And I realised that actually, let's bring it around now, that actually it's rather looking good. He's probably not going to kill skeletons on his own, but a flank from Tundra Wolves absolutely will. Absolutely will. That's me doing no damage. I think. Oh, do I do that? Maybe that's just me doing a counter charge onto these wraiths. And there we go. So we did 8 points of damage onto the death pack, and even more brilliantly, I wavered them, which is possibly the best result you could possibly ask for there. So that was fantastic. The Giant did 5 points of damage there onto the mummies. Not good enough, and he's going to die. 1 point of damage there, and an enjoyable double one. It's always nice to see a double one early in the game from the Tundra Cats, Tundra Wolves, whatever they are. Thonar, of course, massacres the catapults, and we have, I think that's 2 or 3. I don't really understand that dice, what it means. There was some damage. I don't know. 4, 2, could be anything. So, with these guys who did we do any damage? I can't see damage dice at all here, so I don't think we did any damage. If I was him, I'd have just flown them over. So instead now the werewolves get to flank. These guys are stuck, and even better, because they're wavered, the Soul Reavers are stuck right behind them. Amazing. So, nothing can be done here. He takes the mummies into the flank of the Giant, and then noticing the massive threat that's coming here, he's turned his wights to face it, which is a really sensible move, because they are the scariest of his stuff. And then rather than take the death pack into my Thunderseers, instead he decides to block up this horde with it instead, which is probably another good choice, because if this attack fails on my Giant, there's lots of flanks going on here, which is nasty. So this goes on. There's some shooting onto Thonar. It does 1 point of damage, and then so he's positioned these really well. So you see the Necromancer and Multiverse here are positioned so that if Thonar does charge them, he's not going to overrun onto anything, right? Even if he hits it here, he's going to miss anything, right? So that's the choice that I have there about what I want to attack or not. 1 point of damage, he's fine. It's a great model, by the way. This is, do you know what? Stormbringer on Manticore or something model, but I use it as Thonar. I think it's a brilliant model. 4 points of damage from skeletons onto Tundra Wolves. They're okay. And 4 points of damage. Oh, and he already had 4 points of damage. No points of damage onto my Thunder Striker guy, Hitman. And the giant carks it in turn 3. So, this is the story of the tournament with that poor bloody giant. He dies, and mummies are free to act. He did, however, turn them, so he turned them. Like, yeah, on there. Any damage here? Don't think so. He turned them like this, and I thought, ooh. We actually looked. I actually got Nick over to do a judgment in the end because I was looking. If I turned my Thunder Spears here, would I be able to scoot down the edge here and hit them in the flank? And the answer was no, I couldn't. But it was really cool to think I might for like half a second. And he finally kills my Riftwalkers over here, and now everyone's free to come hammering into me. Is it too little too late, though? Turn 4, let's find out. Oh, no, that was what I was trying to show before. 3 damage from this death bat, which is pretty solid. So, over here, we have Riftwalkers. Where's my Riftwalkers? So these Riftwalkers here. So I have a flank here. Unfortunately, these guys were so pressed, I think, against here, they couldn't get out of that. So, Riftwalkers into the flank of mummies. These Tundra Wolves into flank of skeletons. Thonar decides that he's not going to attack this guy, these guys, this guy, or this guy. Instead, far more important is to hold down these whites because they are very, very scary. So he comes around here into the whites. And I'm always hopeful, and this is the 3rd time I've sent Thonar solo into whites, that his Thunderstruck ability will stop them killing him next turn. Let's find out if it does. Then we're still attacking here onto these Death Pack. And we're countercharging here, obviously. And then the Riftforger is finally coming into play, so he's going to host Shadow Beast Thonar because this fella's too far away because I've mispositioned him. And so we kill the skeletons. And Thonar does 10 points of damage, which is outrageous. So he had 3 extra attacks, right? So he had 9 attacks on 3s and 3s. And because of the Storm Strike, I rolled an unprecedented number of the 5s and 6s. We did 10 points of damage, which is gross. Anyway, there you go, Thonar. He's broken. And we killed the mummies on our flank, and we rolled over into the flank of these. Didn't do any damage. And then we did 16 points of damage into this death back, and I double one it. So there you go. It's the worst possible result. Because these guys cannot get in. They're so close behind now that even if the death packs shift along to here, then these Soul Reavers do not have the turn to get in here. Disaster. And he sends his werewolves off down where they should have been in the first place, kind of threatening down the flanks, which is good. Oh, actually, sorry, this is his turn. So he sends the, as I was saying, he sends the werewolves down the flank. And because these guys can't get in, instead he flies his wraiths in with the death pack. Not sure these guys are going to die though, because we know what happens with wraiths. They hit on 4s and these guys are defense 5. He has got a Bane Chant here, which I think he fails every turn. There's cat charge here. The mummies come off the hill. Rather than go into these guys, they come into the horde. And the Soul Reavers turn ready for attack here. Right? Nothing else exciting. More counter charges everywhere else. It's not catapult anymore. That must be Blizzard. Another point of damage for Blizzard. Yay, Blizzard. A hysterically bad turn here. Did they do no damage to Tundra Wolves? That's terrible. And again, you see 2 points of damage. All these guys managed was 2 points of damage and a waver. Which is brilliant for me, really, because it just holds everything up a little bit more. Oh no, actually this is not so great for me, to be honest, because then these guys are really stuck. Alright, anyway. Okay, 5 points of damage from the mummies onto my horde, which we think is very survivable. And 3rd time lucky, right? Thonar into white. Well, no. I'm afraid. Look, there's Fred. He's life leeching the points off of Thonar, who is definitely got more than 1 point of damage. He had a lot more than 1 point of damage. So the lesson here that I've learned is don't send Thonar into whites. Would I do it again, given the opportunity? Absolutely yes. And upside down, turn 5. So on to turn 5. So We have Riftwalkers into Soul Reavers off a hill, but sadly they're flying, so it doesn't get any bonus. Oh, I think my photo taking got a little bit lax here, because that is flank and front on mummies, and they are fully murdered. Fully murdered. And then we have double Tundra Wolves into Skeletons. We're up to, is that 12 damage? And they're okay still. And this is how we look. So, what have I done? Right, so I've moved my Thunder Seers up because obviously the werewolves are a flanking threat. So I've used the terrain to protect myself from that threat. We're wavered here, so they're all stuck. This is, obviously I've done a little bit of damage, but nothing going to happen there. They're locked down. These guys have decided to wander off and claim a table quarter because I've got 2 hordes in the centre now. It's not looking great for Fred. Let's say that. So the werewolves come round and say, well, I'm going to rear charge you then. Unfortunately, he did misposition it because I think in the rush, clocks were probably getting a little bit low. The hordes have got an extremely wide line of sight, and I can absolutely see those werewolves. They definitely had enough move to come over here somewhere like that so that I couldn't see them. It's a real shame because that could have been a decisive move. That's probably some shooting. Finally, Skeletons managed to kill some Tundra Wolves. Yay! And of course, Soul Reavers utterly murdered my Riftwalkers, finally getting to do some damage. Good lads, well done. And turn 6. So turn 6, I take the charge, feeling very unfair about the whole thing. My Thunder Seers just sit there, useless, having done nothing the entire game. And I think these guys... I think maybe they weren't killed, that's right, because they had 2 damage with 4, didn't they? Went up to 7. And I don't think they're wavered this turn. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, I don't know. We'll find out when we see the attacks. And I send my Riftforger into Soul Reavers, the brave little fella that he is. Largely because it doesn't matter under Northern King's scoring. There's no attrition. If I lose him, I lose him. If I get more points, I get more points. And you can see at the top here, there are no skeletons because they have been murdered by wolves. Eaten to death by wolves. There you go. Those are the wolves looking very happy that they've murdered them. I like this unit. I'm replacing them with the Mantic ones. But this fella in particular falls off the base constantly. Very distressing. And in the final return, the Riftforger gets murdered for a few extra points. And that's the end of the game. So, unfortunate for Fred. A few little mistakes, particularly in deployment, really left him on the back foot. But it was amazing to play him. I feel like, it's like a buddy that you haven't seen for a long time, despite the fact I've never met him before. Really cool, just to hang out. Let us plough merrily into Game 2. Okay, Game 2 was against a guy called Martin with his Ogres. Martin's relatively new player, I think, or certainly new to tournaments. Him and his brother came down from the far north of England, Tyne-and-Wear kind of area. And I've got to say, what a pair of brilliant guys. I really enjoyed playing them. They were so fun. Well, I didn't play both of them. One of them. I was at the table next to his brother a few times, but they're really, really lovely guys. So isn't it great to meet people that you wouldn't normally meet because they live 6 hours away from me? I know that's not very far in American terms, but, bear in mind in England, that's like the whole country. And you're probably thinking, Steve, why has this battle report taken so long? Well, that would be because in between recording Game 1 and Game 2, actually 3/4 of Game 1, I've managed to catch COVID for the 3rd time. Which is good, isn't it? It's perils of having a job that takes you out into public a lot in hospitals. I am being very poorly, but I am striving ever onwards just for you. So if I pause to cough, that is why. Anyway, here's his list. An unusual list, I would say, largely because it doesn't have any Berserker bullies, but I think it was based on the models he could get hold of, which I think is the best reason to make an army list. So he has a regiment of rabble and a regiment of spitters, and 2 troops of red goblin scouts for chaff, and then 2 regiments of warrior chariots, which I think are great. One with Mead of Madness, one with Staying Stone. We have a horde of shooters, 2 hordes of warriors, and a horde of siege breakers with Liliana's Tear, which I think makes them immune to Brutals. I don't know, he doesn't use it anyway. A giant, Grokagamok, and Nomagorok. Alright, so let's have a look at the terrain. There's his army laid out. We've got to move it. So, all the terrain standard height, so it'll be the same throughout the Eastern Battle Report. We have hill and hill, height 3. We have forest and forest, height 6. We have blocking, blocking, height 6. Wall, wall, height 2. And I think the lakes are flat or height 1. It doesn't come up, but, you know, I could look it up. I'm not going to. Isn't it a nice table? So, we are playing. I forgot to make a little banner for this particular one, but I'll write it here. Fool's Gold. Okay, so Fool's Gold is the one where you put down bluff tokens. It's hard to talk and write at the same time. Bluff tokens, you have 1, 2, 2 1s and 2 0s. And at the end of turn 3, you turn them all over. So I can tell you which ones mine are, because I remember. Here is a 2 in the middle, a 1 here, and a 1 here. That's a 0, and that's a 0. And as I do with all of these scenarios involving multiple tokens, I basically put all of mine together on one side, and I decide to just rush that side and hope that one of these 3 has got a number on it, and that therefore I can take it out. So his ones are over here and over here. And let's have a look at deployment and see if you can guess where his tokens are. Nah. So he's put all of his meat over here, so to speak. So we have got, whoa, let's not do that. Warrior, Warrior, and Siege Breaker. And then we've got Spitter, Rabble. I think that's Grok and that's Nom. And those are shooters with their little nose in the woods there, so they can shoot me. And you've got double chariots, double scouts, and giant on this side. Okay, so I'm thinking these are his tokens, his big ones, right? And there is another one. Where's the other one? Must be under one of my units here somewhere. So, my plan. So what I put Horde. I've got Big Lad Ogre thing. I should really look up what he's called in between these recordings. You've got Thonar, the Riftforger that goes with him, Riftwalkers, and the Inspiring Legionnaires. Okay. This is my hold the door. They are simply going to hold off all this nonsense, right? Because I've got Horde, Tundra Wolves here. We've got Giants, Shrine, Thunderseers, and then the other Inspiring guys over here. These guys are going to plough forwards. I think I can take all this with these guys, while these guys hold them off, and then I will swing round. Okay, Thonar's going to go into the shooters, and then we'll see how it goes. So, there's his beautiful army. Very nice. I think he said he borrowed it off someone else, so he can't take credit. Okay. There we go. There is some beer, because that's what happens. And this is my right flank. I really would like to remember what he's called. Stormslayer? Stormslayer! That's what he's called. And there's my giant. You may have seen him in another video. Not yet broken. How about that? Pretty cool. The shrines does this piece of lightning comes off almost immediately. It's been pinned 3 times. So, I lose first turn. And he pushes forward as ogres do. There's really only one way to play ogres, isn't there? Which is push forward and smack me in the face. So everybody pushes forward. Like so. So a little bit cautious on the left. I'm not sure why he's so cautious. There's a lot of meat here. But there we go. Excuse me. And so that is, I think all the shooters, I think that's Nomagorok rather than the shooters. Maybe shooters and Nomagorok. Anyway, it's 2 points of damage onto my horde, which isn't a lot, is it? So in response, I push forward on the left here, and these guys push very far forward because I don't really care about the Riftwalkers, and I want to get Thonar as far forward as possible. Likewise on the left, I made a bit of a mistake on the right here. So these guys are very, very close, too close. Always need to leave space, particularly with giant units like this. So that's a little learning point for me, and I've simply pushed forward on the right here quite aggressively. I have left enough space here because I'm expecting scouts to come in here. What I've done is I was worried that he would take the scouts, and can he do it? So can these scouts see these Thunderseers? Yes, they can. So notice how I've aligned the units here, so he can't just come around there. There's not enough room for them to fit here. It looks like there is, but there isn't. I was thinking he could actually bring them through here to here, right? So the scouts would then be in front of the Thunderseers, which are the scary unit. The giant can then come in here and kill these. Or the chariots even. Actually, the giant's probably a better choice. And then his chariots be positioned here to countercharge, because actually there's not a lot else here that's that good. Really, the giant's alright in the flank maybe. But if this giant comes in here, actually you wouldn't be able to see him over the woods. Or would I? How high am I? Height 3 and height 6, height 9? Yeah, I could see him over the woods. But anyway, he didn't do that. That was lightning bolts, very successful. 4 damage on to turn 2. So, again, cautious. Just cautious on the left here. He's brought his chaff forward and not really the hard stuff. I think probably overcautious given how much hitty stuff he's got there. And as predicted, both scouts, there's one scout into here, one scout into here. So it's a chaff off. We like a chaff off. He didn't come into these guys. So it's a bit more as expected, which is fine. And then all the shooters went into these guys for 4 points of damage, which is less than you'd expect, but I was happy about that. 2 points of damage there. 3 points of damage and a waiver here, which is disaster, really, considering how close I've left these units, because I can't do anything now. I can't even back up an inch, because that's less than an inch. Useless. However, that's my... Oh, goodness me. I've been very remiss in taking pictures here. Apologies. Thonar then jumps out and goes into the shooters and murders them in a single turn, which is disgusting. So the Riftforger gets off his Host Shadow Beast. It's a pretty high Host Shadow Beast, and I hindered a shooter unit in a single turn. Gross. Nerf Thonar. Don't, please. Don't do that. Alright, so then we multi-charge because I've left enough room. Thunder Seers and Tundra Wolves onto this poor scout unit that gets obliterated. I stick my Rift Walkers over the top to produce a nice barrier. So the giant can still come in here. These will obviously come in here, and then I get a nice counter charge with my Thunder Seers in turn 3. So, as that's literally what I just said. So that happens. And then the other chariots go into these Rift Walkers even, who are just hanging around. Thonar's back here. He's chosen to ignore him, which is probably the right thing to do. And he's decided to be a little bit more aggressive, coming forward with everything now, saying, come on, have a go if you think you're hard enough. Yep. This is terrifying. But there's this big hill right in the middle here, which is hiding a lot of it. So, whoa. These guys can't see a lot. They can just see the horde. So we are feeling quite safe. They continue spitting at my horde. Another point of damage there. And the Riftwalkers die. 2 chariots. 6 wounds. As do the other ones. All the Riftwalkers have been sent back to the Rift. Get back there. Walkie Rift people. And wave it again. And what's even stupider of me is that I don't move my horde. I leave it there. I must have not been concentrating. I didn't even move it back. So I've left myself in the same situation for the second turn as he gets another waiver on these wolves. Disaster. And the other wolves die to the giant, so now I have a choice. Do I charge a giant? No. Do I charge a chariot? Yes. And here's how the battlefield looks at the end of turn. Was that 2 or 3? We'll find out in a second. But, well, that would be end of turn 2, wouldn't it? Because we haven't got any tokens yet. This is turn 3 now. That's the end of his turn 3, isn't it? That's what's happened. So he's killed here. His chariots are here, but I've got enough. I finally got a giant that can do something. Over here, I'm going to come in here. We'll see what happens. But I have left them alone a little bit because I've turned these guys that way. I think really they should be facing that way. In hindsight. Messed up here. And this side I'm reasonably happy with because I've got a lot of stuff that's going to come in. Alright. Which is what happens. So, we get Thonar here, Riftforger here, and I've forgotten his name again. Storm Slayer in the front there onto these warriors. And then I've decided I'm out of 12 here, so I'm just sitting pretty, waiting for goblins to charge me, which they're perfectly welcome to do. See the giant there has gone into the chariots. And these guys have come off the hill to sort these flipping scouts out finally. And realising that these guys are very alone, at least I brought my shrine around to provide a little bit of support. That's a bit of a Bane Chanty support, I believe. And yep, the secret source of these 3 characters, murder the warriors. Really, this should be the giant and it should be the other way. Anyway, but there you go. Learned that in the last game. So there's a lot of murder went on there. Even better. So this guy, you can see this ruler. Okay, so he was here. No, he wasn't. Where was he? He was here, like this. And I looked at, so these are the siege breakers, and I went, ooh, if I roll a 3, I'm off the hill. Because see, I've measured it so precisely. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, because if I roll a 2 or a 1, it's a flank, and he's dead from siege breakers. And I rolled a 3, as you can see, so he's beautifully aligned off the hill. I was very smug about it. There we go, and we finally kill those silly old scouts, and we kill the chariots with a nice Bane chant. And now we'll find out who's tougher, a giant or a horde of Thunderseers. Turn 4. So, oh, it's token time, how exciting. So here we can see that his 2-point token is this one over on the left, and there's a 1-point token underneath my horde here. Okay. And then, as I told you, that's my 2, 1, and 1. And where's the other one? Oh, the other one is underneath my horde, so he placed it next to this rock, which actually you shouldn't be there, should it? It should be 3 inches this way. It should be there. Anyway, I've only just realised that. Anyway, so I'm already sitting on that one. So there we go. So he finally comes around. He brings the siege breakers up onto the hill because he thinks siege breakers can take these 3, which probably can. The rabble come into this horde with the other warriors coming behind. And there's Grokagmok, who hasn't played a big part, really, this game. He could have been a bit more aggressive with him, wouldn't he? But he's coming to be aggressive pretty soon. And the giant goes in. And there's some shooting from Nom onto Thonar for 4 points. He's okay. Rabble do an unprecedented... Oh, no, they're already on 4 damage. 2 damage from the Rabble. That seems a bit better, doesn't it? Yeah. However... Who's better, a giant or Thunderseers? The giant, as it turns out. 5 points damage, and they're wavered. Wop, wop, wop. That's bad, because they are unsupported. Oh, no. Oh, no. So, counter charge here. My giant comes over. I think maybe he does some Wind Blast. I don't know what he does. He just comes over and says, oh. I've moved these guys up into the 2-point token here, because I want it. And I think this guy couldn't get in because he was facing the wrong way. He's facing that way, wasn't he? Because he might have meaty maneuvers. So I send the Riftforged and Thonar into the siege breakers. I thought they were warriors at the time. I thought I can take them. They're only warriors. They're siege breakers, defense 6. So these wolves that are finally unwavered wang off over here after my 1-point token. And I turn my horde ponderously, ready to come over here. Probably a little bit too late, but there you go. And I just back up the inch. Why do I do that? Who knows? Just for fun. But my horde, who really aren't feeling their best today, take on a regiment of rabble and only waver them, which is garbage. They are fired. Even worse, Thonar, with 5, count them, 5 extra attacks. Which means that he's got 11 attacks, hitting on 3s. Yeah? Blast on a 5 and a 6. And the Riftforger. And we only do 4 points of damage. Which is rubbish. We do on 4s. So that's not very good, is it? Terrible dice. Into turn 5, so it's getting very tense now. So the rabble come into the Stormslayer. I remembered his name. And the siege breakers, obviously, I think they countercharge the Riftforge to then go into Thonar if they kill him. The warriors, so Grok still doesn't get in. He comes around the side so he can get a nice flank next turn. The warriors come in this turn. The giant decides to finish off my Thunderseers. That is... Alright, so yeah, that's a clever idea. So the... Siege Breakers come into the Riftforged, which allows Nomagorov to Lightning Bolt Thonar, puts him up to 5 points of damage, which is bad. They then kill the Riftforger and over onto Thonar, and then kill Thonar. Brilliant. Yeah, exactly the right thing to do. So, but I think the Stormslayer is unwounded. Even worse over here, my horde of Legionnaires are wavered. That's 16 points of damage, which is not very good for next turn, is it? And even worse, Thunderseers die 2 rounds of combat from a giant, so that's, yeah, not great, to be honest. So this is how the battlefield looks. We have a 2-point token here, we have a 1-point token here, we have a 1 here, a 2 here, a 1 here, and a 1 here, right? So, I've got this 2,
That's mine. And I've got this 1. That's mine as well. I was worried about Nomogrok coming and lightning bolting off these things, but it doesn't look like he's about to. So that's 3 I've got. Now, I could just step these guys back onto this 1, which would have been sensible, because that would have definitely given me 4. And he would have got this one, let's say, and this one is 3, 4. That would be a draw, so I couldn't do that. That's right. So I remember doing a bit of maths and thinking, oh no. So these warriors need, or these legionnaires need to get over here, because I can't let him have that one, or I need to find out where to get this one or this one to win, right? So very tense, very close. So here's what I do. The giant charges. He's actually here, right? We couldn't fit he's this is very breakable, this bit of lightning. So he's up on the hill. He's actually in front of Nomogrok. The Stormslayer goes into the Siege Breakers. And we back up my horde. Okay. Just back up, so at least it's a front from everyone. That's the least I could do. And then we proceed over here as quickly as possible. I managed to waver Nomogrok with, I don't know how many points damage. 7, I guess. I don't know if he was damaged before. Stormslayer puts them up to 7. They're still okay. And into turn 6. So, decisive times now. Here's what happens. The Siegebreakers kill the Stormslayer on the counter charge, and then turn like this. And this was a really unfortunate mistake. So if you look at the base, there's a nice straight line here, right? Oh, I just thought something. I think I just cheated. We'll come back to that in a minute. I'll tell you about it. And then we get rabble. So the spitters come into the flank, and the rabble come into the front of my... because obviously these guys have died. Yeah. Oh no, that's not what happened. So the spitters did come into the flank, I want to say. But these guys and these guys have just killed my horde and then turned, right? There is a token directly underneath me. I think it's... Oh, you can see it's here. This is longer than 3. Right? So, at the moment, he's got 1 unit strength on me. But if my Reborn Legionaries can kill these already wounded rabble, then I get the token if there's no turn 7. So that's really cool. And then he does a great move with his giant, which is he decides not to fight and he just books it off over here to get this 1 point token. And what I've done in response, you can see, because I think we are possibly pressed for time. So the shrine has come off over here to get the 1, and then these wolves have come down here to get the 2. And then, just in case there's a turn 7, these legionaries who are sitting on the 2 have come down here. They're not close enough to get it in turn 6, but next turn they'll get the one that's down there. Okay. Also, next turn I should be able to come forward just enough to get the 3, or at the very least charge this bugger. Yeah. And this is how we look. So what I did over here, which I think is cheating, so I'll show you. I didn't think it was cheating at the time. So I've turned this guy 90 degrees and simply gone 7 or however far this way. Because at the moment, Grokokomok is sitting on the token, but my giant nullifies it by being there. But I shouldn't be able to do that because I wouldn't be able to move closer to this Siegebreaker unit than I was at the start, right? That's the rule, isn't it? You can't move closer than you are at the start if it's within an inch. So, looking at these angles, there is no way, because going this way, I would have had to come within an inch. So, many apologies for cheating. I didn't realise it at the time. I thought it was just a clever move to come here. Boo to me. Boo you! So, let's see. Let's see, would I still have won without that? Yes, because it's a 2. So you see, I've put myself here, claiming, so we've nullified that token. I do kill this rabble. There you can see I kill them there. Which means I get this 1. So I get 1 here. 1. I get the 2. And I get the 1. Okay, so that's 4. And then he got 1. And he would have got a 2. Should have got a 2. Yeah, so actually I still win. I just robbed him of 2 tournament points. How mean! Oh, what kind of a player am I? Not a very nice one. Anyway, really good game. Really close. There was no turn 7. If there was, I don't think it would have made a difference. I mean, he would have got this 1, but I would have got that 1 in return, so it would have been the same. But yeah, great game. Really nice guy. Fun times. Sorry for cheating. Didn't make a difference. Move on. Okay, game 3 against Rob and his dwarf. So I've had two 21-point victories. Max is 25. So decent victories. It's put me reasonably high up the table. And so unsurprisingly, I meet a very good player. Rob is an exceptionally good dwarf player. And I always like playing near Rob. I've never played him before today because he makes me sound quiet. If there's anyone that makes me sound calm and relaxed, then you can imagine he is an excitable chap, but a very good player. So this was his list. He has 2 regiments of Ironclad with Throwing Mastiffs, a regiment of Iron Guard with Throwing Mastiffs, those are the Defense 6 guys, 2 hordes of Earth Elementals, 3 Mastiff packs, one of which has Throwing Mastiffs, 2 Steel Behemoths. I love a double Steel Behemoth list. I've got 2 Steel Behemoths, and I've never managed to find a dwarf list to play it with, so maybe I'll just steal this one. Looks alright. A mounted Berserker Lord with the Blade of the Beast Slayer, which I think he comes with. And then a Berserker Lord with the wings. Now, I'm used to seeing a wingy gingy, but this is a wingy Berserker Lord, defense 3. Stone Priest with Bane Chant. And then both... So I've seen Garrick Heavyhand a lot, because my friend plays Garrick Heavyhand and loves him. He's got even better recently with Radiance of Life. He was already good. He's also taken Faber Ironheart that I've never seen before, but I have a renewed respect for. So he's another Defense 6 character with 7 attacks and a dash 15 nerve. I think he's better than Garrick, if I'm honest. He's got Wild Charge, and he's got a 24-inch piercing 2 steady aim attack. He's a beast. Faber Ironheart. Well, let's find out more about how good he is as we look at our table. Whoa, there we go. So this is the table. So dwarf-themed table doesn't bode well, does it? We've got 3 pieces of height, I think 10 or infinity blocking terrain. We have 2 hills, very nicely made hills here. We have a piece of height something, 1 maybe, difficult terrain. Well, these are woods, forests here, and height 2 hills. All right, so a nicely segmented board. I actually end up playing on the other side, so let's just turn it around there and talk about the scenario, which is pillage. So pillage, was normal pillage tokens. So we have 7 of them. 1, 2, 3 on this left-hand side, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the right-hand side. Okay, so here's my thought as we deploy. So this is how Rob deployed. Rob fully deployed on the right-hand side here, where there's 4 tokens. So we put the tokens down. And thinking about it, a bit silly about how I placed my tokens. I had to place one of these, and there was 4 on his side. He chose sides. Right, so imagine this is the table center-ish. There's actually only 2 on this side of the table, and there's 5 on this side of the table. So he chose that side, and he's clearly going for the 4 to win here, right? But he's put Faber Ironheart over here on his own. And I looked at this and I thought, okay, that's fine. So I'm deploying obviously most of my stuff here because this is formidable, right? But I've put a Reborn Legionaries and a Tundra Wolves troop here, and I redeployed my Thunderseers here as well. Okay, like that. The thought being, right, I win first turn by the way. The thought being that actually I can get these 3. I can use those 3 units to whop Faber. Yeah? And then I get all 3 tokens, and then I only need to win 1 on this side. So, Rob's thinking, this is a nice small gap. Let's get Steve's hordes stuck between it, which is pretty good tactics also. So the way he's deployed, he has got, so Faber on the left there, he's got his Steel Behemoths flanking a horde of Earth Elementals with 2 of his troops of dogs, Mastiffs. Then the other Earth Elementals, then he's got Ironclad, Iron Guard, Ironclad. Alright, that's the Flying King. And the Berserker Lord is, I would say here. Okay. So against that I've put, as I told, Reborn Legionnaires and Tundra Wolves. Then I've got my 2 hordes here with the Giant in the middle. And then I've got Tundra Wolves, Riftwalkers, Reborn Legionaries, and on the right hand flank you can see Riftwalkers, and I've got my lovely pair, and I think I've got the Stormslayer there. And I wish the Stormslayer had been here and the Giant had been there. But there you go. Stop talking about it, we know. So I push forward on turn 1. And I push as forward as fast as possible. Because I figure it's only 7 attacks, he's not going to kill me. And then I can charge him next turn. When he pops up on that hill. And likewise, we push forward here in a nice kind of curve. So the idea is this horde will come into here. This horde will bring up the rear. Okay, so we get a nice 1-2. So in response, a pretty standard. Oh, there's the Lord back there. This guy must be the Stone Priest. So it's just a standard push forward. He's going to try and log jam me with all of his very, very strong stuff. All defense 6 line, very nasty. And his wingy kingy plummets forward here because he looks at the angles and realizes that I can't see him with anything. Good job. And Faber pops up on a hill and pow, 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 pow. 2 wounds onto my Tundra Wolves. Worst possible outcome apart from death. He wavers them. So there you go. He rolls a 10. Good job. Actually, he rolls an 11. Or a 9 rather, because a 10 would have killed them, wouldn't it? Because they're a 10-12. So I decide to be very, very aggressive. And apologies for not taking the correct photograph before I did it. But I push forward with my... so Riftwalker's coming to the dogs here. Because actually what I don't want is for him to start using his throwing mastiffs at me. Because that's annoying. So with the Riftwalkers there, if I hopefully kill them, I've blocked up 2 regiments with a single unit, which is pretty cool. I once again sacrifice my giant, which is why they should have been the other way around. The Stormslayer would have been much better in this role. But I throw my giant into here, but look at all those lovely Cloak of Deaths he gets off. They all take a wound because he's packed up so tightly, which is cool. And then I send the Stormslayer and Thonar, supported by the Riftforgers, Shadow Beast, and I kill a unit of Ironclad in 1, which is cool. And then over here, so this is turn 2 now. Turn 2. Is there a picture of a dice? There it is. Anyway, this is what I do. I push up further. So again, push everything up nice and hard because he can only kill 1 at a time. If he kills this guy, these guys come in. If he kills these guys come in, so on and so forth. All right. I didn't kill these guys. 3 wounds and didn't kill them. So he multi-charged with the Iron Guard and the Wolves, or Dogs. And he's turned these guys this way to face against this threat. And then he sent his king into Thonar. Not king, it's a Berserker Lord. And then, you got to admire the guy who's played. He plays this corner exceptionally well. Just exceptionally well. Look how many points. It's 175 points against, upwards of 500, 600 points here. So he steps Faber that way. So Thunderseers, he's out of 12. He can't be seen by the Tundra Wolves, and he's got a single shot onto these guys. So he just needs to do enough damage to them. However, he is within charge. So hopefully they'll be alright because they're defense 5. So on the last turn, obviously I didn't kill the Earth Elemental. I did 7 wounds, which is pretty boss. 6 plus the Cloak of Death. However, I do now take a flank from a Steel Behemoth, which is Giant dies again. I've already shown you that. What have we got here? So this is where he's got the 2 hordes coming up. So he decides to send in... what's his name? Okay, I'm going to have to go back and look it up. Come on. This is painful to watch, isn't it? Maybe I'll cut this bit out. I won't cut this bit out because I won't be able to remember it. There we go. Whoa. Garrick. Garrick Heavy Hand. Garrick. Remember it. So he sends Garrick Heavy Hand. Garrick Heavy Hand is amazing. He's a 14-16 defense 6 and he just never dies. So he's very, very good. So he sends him forward here to basically block the horde up. Because he's mighty, this horde is going to have to come into him. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't get around him. Will you look at that? Faber Ironheart. What a legend. Another 2 wounds. And another way. These guys are 11-13. So he does roll a 10 this time. And wavers them. Absolutely gutting. Just so frustrating. That's throwing dogs onto my Stormslayer for 4 wounds. And that is more throwing dogs onto these Riftforgers for 3 wounds. And the king wavers on 1 wound. And then rolls a double 6, I guess. Must be double 6 because he's a 14-16. Wavers Thonar. Devastated. 4 wounds there though, so they're actually feeling rather lovely. Which is good for them. But the giant does of course cark it. Turn 3. So this is how we look at turn 3. I still think, it's okay. I've managed to kill 1 unit here, which is good. This is a worrying line of defense 6 that I'm not sure I have a great deal of answers to. I'm going to have to use these guys to block it all up. Kill him, and then push through. See how we go. And this is just going very poorly. So,
that's exactly what I do. So we get a horde in here, and blocking up here, right? I send the Riftforger into these Earth Elementals, because what I don't want is Earth Elementals coming around this way. So I just need to do 1 wound here. They're already on 7 wounds, actually. With the Host Shadow Beast, I might get lucky. And then we go flank and front onto these Iron Guard. Thonar buggers off that way to, lick his wounds. And I've still got a troop here ready to pounce on a token. Pounce, because they're wolves. So I come up like this, and this is just, it's just a cock up. I think, right, I'm gonna box you in. There's no way you can escape this. I have a real problem with judging angles. Realistically, if I'd have just put my Thunder Seers a little bit more like this, right? Because actually, this is a small base. If he charges in here and kills them, I can't see him. If he charges in here, kills them and just overruns a little bit, I also can't see him. So I thought this was really clever. I've boxed him in, forgetting he's actually a very good, meaty character. I'm annoyed with myself. Anyway. So we get 7 wounds onto these guys, and we waver them, but they've got Headstrong. So that's not great, is it? Even better though, the Riftforger does kill the Earth Elementals. Go Riftforger with your level 3 attacks. Bless your socks. 4 wounds there, but they're okay. Those dogs, in fact, 4 wounds and a double 1. Nice to see a double 1, isn't it? That's poor. And then I kill this unit of dogs here. And then I really cock it up. So 7 wounds onto Garrick here. It doesn't kill him, which is a shame. But that's a good number of wounds, but not unsurprising. Quite rare to, it'd be hard to roll that twice. But I fiddle around with the position of this unit, and again, I just make a really silly mistake, because I distinctly remember I put them like this, right? Thinking, well then, this guy doesn't fit. And somehow I shifted them back without thinking. And if you look at that now, you've got 1, 2, a triple charge. That's really not survivable. I could probably survive these 2 if I'd have put it as I originally put them. All 3? Nuh-uh, not possible. So that is not great. I mean, as it was, he might have sent Garrick in as well and put this one here. So we'll see. Anyway, well, poor. So he passes his headstrong check, which means he gets dogs in the flank of these guys, and the Iron Guard countercharge the Stormslayer. There's the triple charge. Ouch, don't like it. And look at that, Garrick's gone from 7 to 3. Iron Resolve and Regen. Oh, Iron Resolve, what's it called? Radiance of Life and Regen. So this is classic misplaying, and then he's moved these Earth Elementals up here because he's going to surge them into my Riftforger. Which he deserves, and he gets a good surge off. And that is the death of the Stormslayer. Oh, I think the King joined in as well there. Yeah, so you've got King and these guys. Okay, it's not surprising he died. He's dead. And also the Riftwalker's dead, which means my entire flank has been cleared out. I've got 1 unit of Tundra Wolves down there, and I've got Thonar, but I don't think it's enough to kill all of this. That's really bad. Obviously, the Riftforger dies as well, so the whole flank now is collapsing in a really very dispiriting way. Very dispiriting. 3 wounds there onto the Horde from Garrick, but all he's doing is holding them up because the other Horde dies. And now it's looking rather poor. And even worse, those dogs on a countercharge kill my other Riftwalkers. It's looking terrible all round, isn't it, really? And the worst happens. So this is when I realised just how dumb I am. And I felt dumb. And Rob was very nice about it, but you could tell that he thought I was dumb too. It's just that Garrick comes in here, kills the wolves, overruns 3, and now I can't see him. Oh, I'm so stupid. Turn 4, I'm so stupid. So I just turn. I don't even turn far. Look at that. I don't even turn far enough. I think I've turned them like this so that these guys can come forward and still take the token. These guys, I should have turned them further. So, yeah. That is. So then, right, so over here, the chance that I have is from here
this horde can turn, just simply turn, tap this flank, and I've got a lovely flank on his behemoth. So if I can kill his behemoth, and then this guy's can do something with the other behemoth, I've still got a chance. So we tap in there, 10 wounds on that behemoth, not enough to kill it. And then we go into, photos were getting a bit short because time is getting a bit short, so the Reborn Legionaries go into the Berserker Lord, 3 wounds, he's fine also, so more terrible news. And so then on his turn, Faber just kind of buggers off. That's more than 12, so I can't charge him. Oh dear. So I think I charged... What did I charge with those cats there? Let's have a little scoot back and see what was over there. Alright, so I charged dogs with cats. You know, they're wolves, aren't they? I think this is the last ditch. Let's get rid of some of this unit strength, right? Hoping that Thonar could then finish off some more stuff. And the counter. So then, obviously, I killed them. And the king and the unit came in here. I think Thonar went into the wounded Iron Guard and killed them. So we're really thinning them out here. So we're down to 2. I'm down to 2. And then he's got this unit of Ironclad and a king left. The Earth Elementals, because of my failure to kill the Behemoth, get a nice flank on my horde. He sends Garrick into my shrine so he can stop those annoying Bane chants. And then because I didn't kill the Berserker Lord, Behemoth and Berserker Lord come into my last unit here. This is going to be very painful for me to tell to you because the wolves die, the horde dies, and the Reborn Legionaries dies. And you'll be thinking, hey Steve, where's your army there? It's all dead, man. It's all dead. Yeah. So, the shrine doesn't die, just 4 wounds, but turn 5. So the Reborn Legionaries wander this way to get this token and hide behind a hill so you can't be shot. And the utterly useless, definitely not going in my list next time, Thunderseers come off this way to sit on this token. So at least I get 2, right? Come on. And then over here, the shrine says, right. So he disengages, disengages and comes this way and says, I can definitely kill this Behemoth. Absolutely, definitely, you're going to die. Take this. And then Thonar comes into this regiment to see if he can pull off a blinder once again. What do we think about that? Well, there we go. So that is 0 wounds, by the way. That's what that is. 0 wounds. Rubbish. 8 attacks on 4s and 5s. Nothing. And Thonar does 4 wounds there. I think they already had 1. Yeah, so he does 3 wounds, which is a very poor showing, given what he's done previously. And they're obviously fine. Meanwhile, Faber, the little chap, just kind of swanks off behind a pillar to sit on a token. Everyone piles into the shrine. This horde goes off down here because there's a token down. Yep, there's a token there. These guys go off here. These guys go off here, and the king takes on Thonar. Oh, look, the king's fallen over because he's only on 1 wound. He's so disappointed with himself. However, the shrine does in fact die. So, turn 6. I just you will die. I'm like, Thonar, come on, Thonar. So I take Thonar into the Behemoth. And I don't kill it, and the counter charge along with everyone else kills Thonar. So it's like, what? Alright then. Fine. See if I care. And that's the end. So how many tokens does Rob get? He gets 1. He gets 1. Oh, I've lost my pen. He gets 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I get 2. So that is the end of game 3. So here's the standings at the end of day 1. I got a 21, a 21, and an 8, which obviously puts me at 50 points, which is here. as you can see. 15th, which is alright. Let's pretend it's submarine territory. I'm having a lovely time. That's the most important stuff. Even more fun is that my friend Simon's top. And he was terrified. He was like, why am I here? What's going on? He was playing an Abyssal Dwarf army that he'd won 0 games with in practice. And he was top for day 2, which is brilliant. And so I'm at 15th. Hopefully have a nice friendly game tomorrow. And you will find out when I upload the video for the next games. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please feel free to yell at me for cheating or to tell me that my army looks nice, because that's the kind of ego boost I need to get through the day. And what's interesting is look how little I kill compared to everyone else. Everyone above me scored, at least 1,000 points more of kills, and below me. Clearly my army just not very killy, or perhaps my play style. That'll be interesting to talk about later. Let's close this video for now. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time for part 2.